everybody. Welcome to the 15th episode of YLC Chats. Today we have another exciting guest, Tricia Williams from Palm Beach, Florida. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Dana, do you want to ask the first couple of questions?
Sure. So how did you become involved in Best Buddies?
That's a great question, Dana. I actually started with Best Buddies when I was introduced to the organization by someone who was my boss at another nonprofit. That person now used to work for Best Buddies and came back and is now working again for Best Buddies. You know, everyone loves Best Buddies. They leave, they come back, and told me all about Best Buddies. And I was at another nonprofit at that time. Came on board because one thing that really stood out to me was that Best Buddies wasn't looking for a cure like a lot of other organizations are, that we are the cure. And that really stuck with me. And I wanted to be a part of an organization that was able to cure something in the world. And what's better than being able to cure by creating more inclusion?
Okay. So what is your current role within Best Buddies, and what do you do in that role?
Absolutely. I am the area director for Palm Beach. Now, I am the area director for the Palm Beach office, but that does not limit us to just Palm Beach. We are also Palm Beach County, Martin County, Indian River County, Okeechobee County, and those are all counties in Florida. We are just, for your listeners that are outside of Florida, it is just north of Miami-Dade. So all of that area, all the way right before you get to Orlando, is our territory. And what I have the privilege of doing for Best Buddies is really overseeing the area and helping it to grow, bring more awareness to our area, and also make sure that our programs are fully funded.
Then what is your favorite thing about Best Buddies?
You know, my favorite thing about Best Buddies is meeting the incredible people that have so many different skills and really helping the world to be able to see those people for their skills, not for their disabilities, but for their abilities. There are people who, I call on, I'm going to pick on Ryan a little bit because, Ryan is so great at social media, and I have had issues before where I couldn't figure out something on Facebook, and I text Ryan and say, hey, how'd you do that? Can you show me how? And he's willing to do it. So Ryan has some great abilities that I am not good at. And so just really showing the world how we could all work together and learn from each other is something that I love a lot about Best Buddies.
Thank you, Tricia. I appreciate it. Why do you think the Best Buddies mission is so important?
Well, I think that we have seen, at least in the last year, two things. We've seen what isolation truly does to the human spirit. You know, with the pandemic, we saw that, I would say our typical adults, our general public got to have a taste of, isolation. And that's something that, the people who we work with every day, deal with on a regular basis. And I think for, as of this week, 12 months have gone by where the general public got a taste of that. And so I think that, Best Buddies really championing and really helping the world to understand that, see what you felt, that is something that someone else could possibly feel for their entire lifetime if we don't be more inclusive, if we don't create those social opportunities, if we don't open doors and, like I said before, not have those preconceived ideas. So I think that's the first thing that we learned and we can learn, is that isolation does not have to be exclusion. We can be inclusive in all sorts of different ways. I have had fun talking to and meeting people from all over. Dana is not in my area. She's not in Florida, but I know Dana. I've gotten to know Dana, and the way that we do it now is using virtual means. Well, why couldn't we have done that all the time? So I think that that's one thing. The second thing I feel like the world needs to really know is that, Best Buddies also helps you, like I said before, to really see that people have all these abilities. They can do so many really cool and great things. And that when we as a society chooses to exclude a group, we're also excluding ourselves from the best of them, also, of all the things they can do. We've seen that in some of the diversity issues we've had in our country, also, where certain groups, be it for their color of their skin or their background, gets excluded and you lose out. And so I feel the same thing for our intellectual and developmental disability community.
What are some changes you would like to see in our country in regards to inclusion?
I want to see, I mentioned to you all right before we started, so I'm a mom of two little boys. They are 6 and 8 right now, and they are wonderful. And I want to see them grow up in a world where they're not looking at people for labels. And I feel like there's still a lot of labeling people, in our communities, whether it is what you're able to do, whether it's the color of your skin, whether it is your background. There's a lot of labeling. I want my boys to grow up in a world where there's no more labeling, that they see Ryan for Ryan, Dana for Dana, Sophie for Sophie, that they're seen just for their character and their content. And so that's one of the things that I really want to see the world get to. And I feel like Best Buddies makes, some strides to help us to be able to have that happen.
How have you stayed connected with your colleagues and the Best Buddies community during COVID?
Well, I have become very good at using Zoom. As you can see from my Zoom background I created. I found that has been a way to really stay connected. When the pandemic first started, like I shared briefly, I created this background so people weren't looking at the blue walls in one of the bedrooms in my house, and I wanted them to feel comfortable and that they were dealing with someone professionally. I have fun and create backgrounds, to make people laugh or just to feel more comfortable doing, getting in touch with each other. And then within Best Buddies, I had the opportunity just recently to become a part of our diversity and inclusion task force. And so diversity and inclusion committee. And so that's within the organization. And what that allowed me to do is really to be able to connect with a lot of my peers who are people of color, like myself. That was really exciting. I also took some time to create kind of like what I call like our little cafe. It's 1 hour that all of the area directors, those in the same position as myself within the state of Florida, there's 6 of us, that we get together just to talk. And sometimes it's not about business. Sometimes it's just about how are your kids doing, or how's your husband doing, or what's going on in your life. And I think that it's really important for people to connect on all different levels. It doesn't just have to be about work. It's really good to get to really know people and know what they're all about, because at the end of the day, I spend more time with people at Best Buddies than I honestly do my family, because I do, I work 40 hours a week and sometimes even more, spending time with those around me in work.
And I have the last question for you. What are some of your goals for Best Buddies in your state in the future?
So it's funny, before the pandemic back in 2020, January of 2020, one of our goals was as an area was to become more diverse. Ryan is well known in our Best Buddies area here in Florida. But what I found is that people in general didn't really know a lot about Best Buddies in Palm Beach. Even though we're not far away from Miami, which has headquarters, you'll think people knew about us. When I started here in 2018, I had so many people ask me, are you guys the ones who do things with puppies? And that drove me nuts. And so I made a point of, I am going to get Best Buddies to be a household name. So everywhere we have an opportunity to be and to also take our state ambassadors with us, we go. Ryan has been to proclamations with like the city of Boynton Beach with me. I have had another state ambassador, Spencer, go with me to a commission's meeting in West Palm Beach. You know, my goal is to really get the area to understand what Best Buddies is, to the extent of some of the other nonprofits, like I think of American Heart Association or, you know, or cancer awareness. I want Best Buddies name to be as big as those names in Palm Beach County, Martin County, all the way up the Treasure Coast and into Indian River County. So it's a big job to do, just getting here in Palm Beach County, but I want to start moving up the counties and make sure that they know who we are, what we do, and why we do it.
Well, we're really excited we could have you on, and thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. We'll link Tricia's area social media in the description below so you can learn more about Best Buddies in Palm Beach. This has been the 15th episode of YLC Chats, and stay tuned for more episodes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.